Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Rob the Mic. Shouts to everybody last week, all my gearheads, all my tuners, everybody, crawlers, anyone and everyone who reached out about the episode. I feel like it started quite a few conversations, and I'm pretty stoked on it. And hopefully, it ends up bringing more of that in the future. So, anytime I can come back talking about cars, anything like that, I'm more than happy to do so. I was actually able to get some perspective guests, so we'll see if I can get a couple of these people out. Because I also realize that as far as having guests on the show, there's some people that aren't really comfortable being on camera, and I know since that's a big part of now what we're doing, it's kind of tough because I'm like, oh man, if I got to shut down the video portion at least for that week, like I don't want to get comfortable with that. So I always want my guests to feel comfortable. But if they're not, of course, we can always cut that portion. But right now, I'm trying to get a couple people lined up that are ready, that feel comfortable, that way we can jump into some certain conversations regarding cars. Because I guess it's not that it hit certain, like struck certain nerves, but some people really felt some sort of way about it. And not in a bad way, but they were like, yeah, dude, like I get it. I get what you're saying, how these types of things are starting to change and that we also don't feel that there's any growth. And like, how do we change that? What are some things we can do? Right. So it kind of opened a bunch of doors and windows for conversations within different realms because I had certain people reach out regarding lowriders, people reach out in the crawler community, trucks, overlanding, all kinds of stuff. And it was funny. One of my overlander buddies, he's like, damn, dude. He's like, really? You had to come and take a shot at us? And I was like, dude, it's not my fault. It's just general consensus. I wasn't coming at you specifically. But, and I always talk shit to him too because it's like, I want him to use his rig. I'm like, go use it, go do stuff, go camping, go this, go that. And he just won't. Like he just built it because he likes the way it looks. But I'm like, man, you would love it so much more if you used it. And not just at the park, like, because he'll go to the park and, chill out with the family, which is sick. It's rad. It gives the kids a day bed. You can chill out, take a nap, whatever. But I'm like, if you were to use that in the desert, in the mountains, like in nature, man, I'm like, you're going to fall in love with your setup all over again, right? Like as if you already don't love it, it's going to push it 10 times harder. It's just like for those of us who have built vehicles and actually use them for their intended purpose, whether it's a truck, stance car, anything like that, once you're using it, dude, it changes everything because it reinforces what you did. And it's like, oh shit, this is why I built it. This is why I do what I do. So hopefully, I'm not going to put out any names. I don't want to put him on blast. But hopefully he can get out there and use it soon. But again, last week's episode seemed to have sparked quite a few conversations, and that's exactly what this is about, right? It's about having conversations with your homies, with your family, with your partners, anything like that, sparking the conversation, letting these things carry on and keep moving and keep grooving, because that's what we do here. That's what we do here, right? So what I wanted to talk about this week, it's not that my topic changed, but there were certain things that went down and then I ended up having a conversation. I feel like this is a very common theme, right? Like I have a conversation with somebody and then it sparks an idea. But it wasn't just a conversation. Like I had a request for a topic for this week. And I always love that. I love when you guys will turn around and ask me for something or say, hey, can you cover this? Can you somehow squeeze this into what you're going to talk about? Or sometimes if it might not line up 100%, like I do my best to find a way to bring the topic into the conversation. Even if it's for like a split second, a couple minutes, whatever it may be, like I try my best to bring it in. And if not, I'll try and do it for the next week or say, okay, cool, let me see how I can line this up. But for this week, it actually was kind of perfect because I feel like I just kind of fell into a rut last week. Like Friday were kind of rough for me. I was just going through it. I was in my head about a lot of things. And at first I was trying to fill my time, trying to find stuff to do, just trying to get out, trying to do things. And to a certain extent that it's healthy to do, right? Like keep busy, keep occupied, find healthy ways to exert energy, find healthy ways to like put good time into things, you know what I mean? And I realized I was doing it so much in a sense to run away from my feelings, run away from my emotions, what I was processing. And that's what I always get afraid of because I don't want to push it down. Like I want to deal with it. I want to feel what I feel. That way, when I feel it in those moments, I don't carry it with me. I don't bury it down because then it comes back out later in some way, shape, or form. And I know that's a very typical, I guess you could say, like, male trait, right? And it's even culturally, I think for Latino men, it's like push that shit down. Just get through it. Just get through it. And in my opinion, that's not the way to go about it. It's not the answer. At least not all the time. I think there's some times in life where you kind of you do have to suck it up, right? And say, fuck it, we got to keep pushing. And I get it. Life moves on. But it doesn't mean that you don't feel your emotions. Even if you don't feel comfortable sharing them or you don't feel comfortable feeling them, there's an issue with that in general. And it needs to be addressed. And these are things I've been working on for a little over a year now. And having gone through things that I've gone through and experienced and getting the certain tools that I need for myself, not for anybody else, for myself. I can only speak for myself, right? But it's really helped me to process my shit because now I can understand that it's okay to feel the way I feel. I don't have to talk about it to anybody, but as long as I can deal with it myself, I can sit in my room, sit wherever I'm at and say, yo, I feel like this. I feel like everything's towering down on me. I feel like shit. I feel sad. I feel depressed. I feel XYZ. To recognize that, understand it, and just go through it, go through the motions, feel what I feel, it's like we talk about, right? Like let the water hit you. It's better to just let it hit you because then it's at your ankles versus then building up the dam and then that whole wave takes you out. That's what I don't want. And I feel like I've been on a pretty good one. Like I've been pretty consistent with like recognizing and dealing with my emotions lately, but it hit me a little harder Thursday, Friday. And I noticed also that I was trying to like fill my time again. It started to affect me because I was pushing off what I was feeling. I was pushing off what I needed to go through. So through the weekend, it was kind of rough. And thankfully, I had my buddy Sebastian reach out to me on Saturday. And he was like, yo, dude, I got to work on the Jeep. Got to go find some stuff, shower, get ready, and we're dipping out. I said, you know what, dude? As much as at first I didn't want to go, I was like, I just want to be home. I was like, nah, this is the time. This is a good moment, right? Like, I'm not just trying to fill my time. Like, this is a time where I had an opportunity to just get out of it for a little while. Because the 2 days prior, I was kind of sitting in it. I wasn't feeling my best. I wasn't doing my best. So I said, okay, you know what? Let's step out. And it was rad. I'm so stoked that I did it because it was good things, just driving around in the rain, looking for parts, laughing, talking with one of the closest people that I have in my life. We got to chill out, watch some UFC. We saw this movie, a Jason Statham movie called Beekeeper. If you guys haven't seen it, look, if you haven't seen it, I'm not saying to run and go watch it, but if you're into just like just action films type of shit, not like, I'm not going to compare it to John Wick in any way, shape, or form, but if you like those types of action films, like Statham movies and just that type of shit in general, go watch it. Because it definitely, some things are blown out of proportion, but I feel like it's entertaining. If you need some source of entertainment just to kind of take up some time, there you go. That's a movie for you. So we ended up watching that. Had some Wingstop. Like it was a good Saturday. And compared to the days before, it's exactly what I needed, And then Sunday, I was like in and out. I was like going through it a little bit, but then I kind of came out of it. And I was able to kind of just have that instant perspective where I can think back to the day before, where I'm like, okay, you know what? This is how you felt. This is how you feel right now. It's okay. Cool. Let's keep it moving. And it's not about pushing it down or burying it down, but it's like, let's walk forward. Let's put some time into something else. So I started to edit some photos. I started to put some time into my creative work, and it brought me out of a funk, which was cool. I put some music on, just got in the zone. There I was clicking away. And a lot of the times I feel like that's what I have to do for myself. I got to pull myself out of this hole, but I got to pull it out with something that's actually good for me. Not just going to Target or going to Home Goods to walk around and, buy random shit I don't need. Like I was working on something and putting my time and energy into something that could actually better myself, better my life, better my career, those types of things, right? Because small steps, regardless of how small and or big the step is, if you remove whatever that is, whether it's big or small, it's still a step. And getting to kind of sit in that, it helped me a lot. And I know for a lot of people, that's a big one too, right? Like putting time into something that you love, whether it's the gym, whether it's cooking, anything, spending time with family, things like that. You got to know and have your quick references to what's going to help you get out of a funk. And coming into that, right? Like I noticed I always talk with, there's a friend of mine that I talk to a lot. I don't want to put him on blast right now because he's the one who requested the topic, but we talk really often, like almost every single day. It's very rare that we don't talk at least once a day, even if it's a check-in, sending a meme, something of the sort. And I noticed I had sent him a couple things and I didn't get a response, right? And I was like, okay, cool. Like it's all good. But then I noticed coming into the week, I still hadn't heard anything. And I was like, that's a little weird. So I shot him a quick video and I was like, yo, dude, just thinking about you. Want to tell you that I love you. I hope you have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon. He ends up hitting me back, sending me like a video response, and he starts venting about shit. And turns out like he had just been going through it. There's been a lot going on for him. He's been dealing with a lot, like personally, professionally, and he's trying to get his ducks in a row, but he feels really overwhelmed. And as of recent, he's been dealing with a lot of anxiety. And a lot of it, the hardest part I think of what he's dealing with is like we've talked about here on the show, which is having to decipher like your thoughts versus reality. Like your brain, you can feel one thing based on what you're thinking, but it's literally that. You're feeling something based on what you're thinking. It's not the reality. None of that's going to happen. You're going through these scenarios in your head and you're falling, but you're falling for no reason, right? So as we start talking about it, he's like, yo, dude, I'm going to hit you up like tonight. So I had checked in with him, I was chilling out and he's like, yo, I'm going to FaceTime you right now. So we end up talking and we're going through everything, right? I'm like, yo, vent about it. Let's go through it. Let's talk about it. This is all you right now. Start going through these things, start talking about it. And then he's like, yo, are you going to do a podcast tomorrow? I said, yeah, of course. I said, I have an idea what I want to talk about, but what's up? I said, why do you ask? He's like, dude, can you talk about just being overwhelmed? Like, I know you've touched on certain things before, but like, can you talk about it? Like, I know obviously you and I are talking right now, but I feel like other people can benefit from it too. Because I know I'm not the only one that's feeling this way or that deals with these emotions, that deals with these types of things. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's cool. Because I had, again, even like I was telling you guys right now, like I was just kind of going through it because of multiple reasons, like personal, professional, romantic, all kinds of things. I just started to really think about it. And I was like, damn. So I put myself in a certain place. And that's originally what I was going to talk to you guys about. Just kind of vent to y'all and what was going on, how I was feeling, why it's making me feel that way. But when this fool turned around and asked me for this shit, I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's run it up. Let's do it. Let's talk about being overwhelmed. Let's talk about how you deal with it, the importance of dealing with it, the importance of figuring things out and compartmentalizing everything. Because I know for myself, when I get this way or when I feel that way, I have to be able to rely on the tools in my tool belt that are in my tool case. You know what I mean? I got to know what's going on because my toolbox is pretty stacked right now. But it also took me a long time to get to this point, to build up these amount of tools, build up these resources, these things. If I don't have the tool, I know where I can get it type of situation. So yeah, let's do that. Dude, honestly, I would love to do that. So this is for him. We're going to talk about all these things. And again, I don't feel comfortable putting his name out there. I want to respect his privacy and what he's going through and things that he's dealing with. But I know you're listening to this, my dude. I know you're probably watching it because I know you'll be watching this stuff. And I love you. I appreciate you. Always have, always will. And you're going to get through it. We're going to get through it together. I'm always going to be here for you. So let's run it up. Let's go in on this episode. So what I wanted to do is I was thinking about just the topic of being overwhelmed. And I was like, damn, dude, it's kind of big. And I know we have that a lot here, right? We talk about these really big topics and it's like, okay, how do you break this shit down? And I always do my best. I try to do my best for you guys to break it down into, 5, 6, 7, 10 topics, even if they're quick ones, that way we have some sort of structure. We have something to go off of because I don't want to get too lost in the topic. We could talk about this shit for hours. I feel like especially being overwhelmed and in today's society, today's culture, we can talk about it forever from so many different perspectives. If I say, you know what, I really started to think about it, break it down. I was working really heavy this morning trying to go through it, take my notes, and I had like a map going on, right? This was like something we used to do in art school where when you were going to build brands, you're going to build something, you're trying to get some information, you'd lay out these maps, keywords, descriptions, things like that. And you kind of put them in their own little houses. And next thing you know, you start to connect the dots, and then you start to realize, okay, these things are actually attached to one group. This thing is attached to another group, and this thing is attached to another group. So that's what I started to do. I said, okay, cool. So I landed on 3 things. And those 3 things are: 1, navigating being overwhelmed; 2, overcoming the overwhelm; and 3, mindful living. And I figured those 3 were the best just because it kind of encompasses everything that I feel like what you guys need, what we all need to kind of get through it and push through to some extent. Because I feel like the rest of it is also very important. There was a bunch of other topics I wanted to kind of bring into this, but it's like, nah, it didn't really make sense because it's going to be sprinkling in the same way like I was talking about, right? Like it's all these little topics, they mean this one thing. All these little topics mean this one thing. And they actually cross-pollinate a little bit. So I didn't want it to sound too repetitive or be like, oh, you know, you keep referencing all these things and it gets confusing. I don't want to keep, it's like when you see those murder mystery movies or like, you know, things like that. And they put like the red string to one picture and then the red string to another picture. Like I didn't want it to be like that for you guys, where you're constantly having to be like, oh, but then he said point number 3 refers to point number 1, which goes back to 3, goes back to 2. You don't need that. What you need is a crash course. And that's essentially what this is, right? So the first one, navigating being overwhelmed. I think a really important one within that topic that I wanted to discuss with you guys is time management. Time management is everything. With your day, with however you're going to run about shit. For myself, it's massive. I have to have things lined out. I have to have at least an idea, even if it's rough or, you know, however, because sometimes I finish things early. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer depending on what it is. If I have to run errands, if I have work, whatever it is, I got to be able to split my day up into times and know, okay, I got to do this before X amount of time. I got to do this before this time or this part of the day, whatever. But I notice when I manage my time personally, it helps me to manage everything else because I know what time slots, I know what things I have available. And I can say, okay, well, as long as I finish this by this time, I can help you out with whatever, or I can add this one thing to the schedule, right? So it just helps me to see things that way. Setting boundaries is also massively important when it comes to being overwhelmed. You have to know, for example, when to say no. And if you also don't want to take calls, if you don't want to answer texts, you don't want to be on social media, you don't want to answer DMs, you do not have to do that. You can set those boundaries. You don't owe an explanation to anyone. You don't owe shit to anybody. I think the only time it's good to communicate certain things, like if you need space, communicate that. Especially, for example, if it's with your partner. Your partner is not somebody you're just going to shut down, right? You don't just not answer the phone. You don't just not do certain things. At least let your person know, hey, you know what? I'm kind of going through it right now. There's a lot going on. Let me hit you back in a little bit. Let me get these things squared up. Let me kind of put everything in place. Communication is key, and we talk about that a lot on the show. This is a recurring theme. Communication is key. Whether it's with your friends, your family, partner, anybody. I think especially your partner. Your friends are one thing because they should understand. Your family is another thing they should understand as well, unless it's an emergency, right? Your partner, in my opinion, because this is a person that you're choosing to love, right? This is a person you're choosing to share your life with. Communicate with them. You don't have to say every little fucking thing in the book. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have moments like that, being overwhelmed or you feel a certain way, share that so your partner can understand, okay, you know what? Let me give you a minute. Do your thing. We'll talk a little bit later. Maybe I'll see you at home, or we'll talk a little bit later when we're done with work. However it may be. Maybe we'll talk on the way home, something. But you got to keep that open. And it's important. Again, that's setting a boundary too. That's letting people know, hey, I have X, Y, Z going on. I need this time. Respect that. And honestly, 99% of the time, people see and hear that. And they're like, oh shit, yeah, do your thing. My bad. We'll talk a little bit later. Don't even trip. Like, I always love that. I love when the homies, if I reach out to them or I say something, and let's say, like, even for myself, when they reach out to me, I can't answer right away. I always tell them, yo, dude, thank you for being so patient with my response. XYZ, and tell them exactly what's going on, answer their questions. Thank you, love you, bye. And the same thing, vice versa. And they tell me, hey, you know what, dude, I got a lot going on right now. Let me hit you back a little bit later today. Or if they don't get back to me later today, they get back to me the next day. Hey, what's up, G? I had a lot going on yesterday. What's up? What's good? What's good? Let's talk about it. That's important. Setting those boundaries. And honestly, the people who love and care for you are going to respect those boundaries. And when it comes to being overwhelmed, I think we're all dealing with so much right now, personally, professionally, in so many different ways. And as a society, I feel like now people are starting to understand, oh shit, we got to tell people, we got to talk to people like, yo, this is what's going on. And it helps. So again, setting boundaries and practicing mindfulness, being self-aware, being aware of others, being aware of their feelings, their emotions, all kinds of stuff. Because again, when you're out in the street, just be cool. You don't know what people are dealing with. You don't know if they're feeling overwhelmed. You don't know what the hell's going on. Just be cool, right? Practice that. Those are good things to practice, good traits to have. It's a good trait to have. Like, you always want to be respectful of other people and keep that in mind, because you would want people to be mindful of you, be mindful of your emotions, be mindful just to be a decent person, because you could be going through and or dealing with something, right? And also, what's really important, and this kind of ties in with setting boundaries, right? How I was saying to let people know what's up, but seek support, find help in any way, shape, or form that you can, whether it's a person that you confide in, your partner, your homie, your parent, another family member, a therapist. You need it, man. Everybody needs an outlet. Everybody needs something, somebody to talk to. It's, well, not, and I say an outlet, but that can be seen in many different ways. But what I mean is finding the support with a person. That's super important. It's one thing to just go out into the mountains, become one with yourself, and get that sort of therapy, but that's a different kind of practice, right? What I'm talking about is finding the support from somebody that you really trust and that you care for. And I mean, even, I'm not saying you have to care for your therapist, but at a certain point, what you want is to develop a relationship with them so that you can see, like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this person actually cares. This person cares about what I'm saying. And I feel supported. I feel seen. I feel heard, that type of stuff. You know, like right now, I'm very, very lucky to have the therapist that I do, for sure. Especially after my experience with my first one. Like, he was really great, but him just kind of ghosting me like that, dude, that fucked me up. I was like, God damn. And it was funny too, because I know I mentioned this when it happened, but at that time, I was just talking to him about dealing with ghosting, because I was dealing with a situation regarding stuff like that, where I had somebody who was coming in and out, in and out, in and out, and having to deal with that like sudden ghost, how difficult it was. And then I got ghosted by this guy, and hopefully he's all right. You know, I hope nothing happened to him and that he's good. But now having the therapist that I do, I'm lucky. Like, I feel supported in every way that I need to be. She understands me. She's taken the time to get to know me. She understands kind of what makes me tick, what makes my heart go a certain way. And that shows really, really heavy. So I feel supported, not just with my homies, because I also have certain people that I talk to, right? Like, I have certain people I run to. I have people like Albert, I have people like Brianna that I don't hesitate to run to. And there's a reason for that, because I feel supported. I feel loved. I feel cared for. Even when they tell me things I don't want to hear. You know, Yessie's the same way. She'll turn around and be like, hey, you know what? XYZ. Brianna and I, the other day, we had a conversation. She kind of chewed me out for something. And not to put her on blast, but it's very important. You know, she chewed me out for something, and she's like, dude, like, I hope this isn't pushing you away. That's just like, I love you. And I care for you. And I don't want people to hurt you. I want you to be all right. And I'm like, dude, you're doing the polar opposite. You're bringing me closer. As if we're already not close. Like, you're bringing me even closer. Because what you're showing me is that you love me, that you care for me. And that's what I need. I feel supported. I feel seen by you. And we all need people like that. Somebody that we can run to, somebody that we can call at any time, any day, and they're going to be like, okay, how can I help? What's up? What do you need from me? So finding support and creating that sort of safe, like that safe haven, right? That safe place with different people. Everybody's going to have a different safe space with you, but when you can create those places with those people, that's a really special thing to be able to do. So if you don't have that right now, I suggest you think about it. Look at the people around you. Look and see what's up. What can be adjusted? Why haven't you adjusted it too? That's important. If you don't feel that you can trust and have these really heavy conversations with the people around you, maybe your circle needs a little bit of adjusting. Maybe something needs to get shifted a little bit, because you shouldn't be afraid to talk to the people around you. You shouldn't feel judged by the people around you. And I'm not saying you got to talk to everybody. That I honestly do not recommend. I don't recommend that you just put everything on every person around you. Do not do that. I think there's certain things you can say to certain people, and you're going to have maybe your 1, 2, possibly 3 people that you could just put your life on. You can spill everything to those people, and it's totally fine. It's a very, very rare thing to have. Because even with the amount of people that I know and the people that I'm close with, again, there's probably less than 5 people. And again, 3 of those people I listed with you right now. Can't really think of the other ones. I guess Rob too. Rob's another one, definitely. And my buddy Sebastian. So there's 5. There's 5 right there. But I'm very fortunate to have those 5. And if you also think about it, those 5 I've known for a very long time. Very, very long time. Some of them almost half my life. So I'm lucky. Very lucky, very fortunate, but it's good to have that. So make sure that you guys take the time to figure that out and create that thing for you, because you're going to be so thankful that you did. The next one, main subject, is overcoming the overwhelm, right? Because it's like, how do I get through it? How do I see it? How can I... People keep telling you like, oh, keep going. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Well, how the fuck do you get there? Because when you're in that shit and it's dark as fuck and you don't even know how to... your lighter's not working. You don't even know what to do, where to find light. It feels like you're never going to get there, right? So how do you do that? So for me, my personal journey has been a lot of just understanding patience, love for myself. Because I know with the personal things that I'm dealing with, both career-wise, romantically, just myself personally, emotionally, what I'm trying to carry and manage, it's a lot, and I got to be able to break it down. But the more that I'm patient with myself, more that I'm understanding, the more that I'm loving with myself, it's so easy. It makes it easier to kind of step through it. Because I'm not being so critical all the time. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Like, I wouldn't want somebody talking to me like that. So why the fuck am I talking to myself like that? And I know it seems really simple, but it's not. Because people don't realize it. We don't realize it, that we do it to ourselves, right? When we say we're our worst critics, that's the fact. You wouldn't want somebody talking to you like that. So why are you talking to yourself like that? You wouldn't be so hard on somebody the way that, like, if you wouldn't be that way with somebody else, why are you going to be that way with yourself? So me going through being overwhelmed, there's so many things that I deal with, and I've created so many different tools and so many different, I guess, like coping mechanisms, right? A big one is grounding. Huge, which I know we've talked about before. Grounding and meditation. I need to ground myself. I can't even tell you how many times a day that I have to ground myself, because I've had to work through dealing with my anxiety without medication for a while now. But as I got older, I started to realize, okay, this shit's actually really fucking difficult, because I wasn't fully dealing with it then. And now I feel like I'm in a better place with the tooling that I have, so I can say, okay, cool. Like I was talking about in the beginning, right? Where you have to realize and differentiate in your head and say, okay, hold on. None of this shit is real. The things that I'm feeling right now, right here in my chest, the tightness, everything, the heaviness, are based on thoughts that I'm having on shit that isn't even real. That's wild. I feel like I'm going to fucking die. Like I'm going to have a panic attack. And it's because of a thought that I'm having. It's thoughts that I'm having that are not real. So I got to ground myself. And I have certain methods, certain practices that I do Like one of them that I'll share with you guys is like I'll sit on the floor, and I don't have to sit on the floor when I do this, but when I can, I definitely do. I sit down, cross my legs, and I'll take my deep breaths, like as heavy as I can. I hold them for a couple seconds. I usually try to do about anywhere from 10 seconds. If it's really bad, I have to hold it for a very long time. So sometimes I'll do like a 30-40 second hold, release it. And then what I do is I rub on my chest, like, and I'll rub in a downward motion, because what it does for myself is it's a very calming thing. So I'll rub down like on my chest, on my shoulders, and just kind of feel it, because I need to kind of feel sometimes like that physical reassurance, like I'm wiping something away, like it's okay. And also, it just reminds me, it's something very tactile that tells me that I'm here right now. This is the moment. So I'll verbalize to myself, like whether I'm standing or whether I'm sitting down. Like if I'm sitting down, I'll say, okay, look, close my eyes, do my whole thing. I'm like, you're sitting down, you're in your room, you're safe. Slow down. And just kind of go through it. Once I start going through the motions and I feel calm and I can meditate, then I'll meditate. And I'll sit there and just kind of clear my mind. I have a places, I should say, not even a place, but I have places that I go to in my head that I've created. And I can just kind of sit there for a minute. I don't want to think about anything else. But it's also taken me a long time to gather that too, and how to stop like the intruding thoughts, right? And I know we've talked about that briefly too, especially when I was starting to work on meditation and like recognizing those thoughts that kind of coming in your head when you're trying to focus on something else. And it's recognizing that moment and saying, okay, like that's a thought. That's a thought, a thought, a thought, a thought. And when you recognize it and kind of categorize it, you're just like, okay, I can put this stuff over here because these are just things that I'm thinking about. It's not important to what this is right now. So I'd say those grounding and meditation are huge for me. Huge, because I can practice them whenever I need to. If I'm driving, wherever I'm at. And that's what I wanted to get to. I wanted to get to a place where I could pull these tools out at any point in time, at any place, and it can help me get through it. And if I'm in a public setting and it's a little too crazy, it's really hard for me to do that. But a lot of the times, like in my side bag, like I carry my earbuds and they're like noise canceling. So I'll put those in. That way I can kind of like quiet everything down a little bit. Or actually what I've been really curious about, and let me know if some of you guys have these or if you've heard about them. There's these earplugs called Loop. And they were basically created around like music festivals and just kind of that stimulation that you feel, or when it's too much, when there's too much sound going on and you need to quiet things down a little bit. That's what these little earbuds are for. And now they have like really nice ones that are not just like designed a certain way, like they're not just plastic. Now they have some that are like powered, and you can, like, in a sense, noise canceling, but you can intensify it to a certain point. But I've been thinking about getting those too, because I notice sometimes if I'm out at a restaurant and I feel a little overwhelmed, or I feel kind of, how would you say, I'm trying to even think about how to explain it, because I know there's a way for it, but just when it's just socially too much, too many people talking, there's too much going on, I need to like quiet it down a little bit. And I feel like I should invest in something like that. So let me know if you guys have them, or if you know of people who've used them, or if you even know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, let me know. I'll send you a link to some. But things like that are really important. I need those tools for me. And I know for a lot of you guys that are listening and or watching, it would be extremely helpful to do so. Extremely helpful. So find a meditation app. Find something like that can teach you these techniques to go through body scanning, to go through breathing, all that type of stuff, because man, it is so helpful. Especially if you're prone to getting overwhelmed, or if you're prone to anxiety, because you got to be able to bring yourself down. You're the only person that can kind of pull yourself out of those holes, right? So grounding, meditation, huge, 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 huge. They go hand in hand. The next thing is lists. That's a big one for me. When I think about everything that I have to do, it becomes too much. If I put it down on paper, even if it's 100 things, it's so much better for me to do that, because I can see exactly what I have to do and why I have to do it, organize it by importance and things like that. And also, dude, and I know a lot of you guys are going to feel the exact same way, crossing shit off, like of a physical list, even on your phone, oh, dude, there's something so fucking satisfying about that. And then when everything's crossed off and you're like, ah, shit, Even if it's just like running errands, stuff you got to do around the house, it doesn't fucking matter. Putting it down, crossing it off, there's something so satisfying about that shit. But it helps me from feeling overwhelmed. Because at that point, I can organize my thoughts. And even with my buddy, when we were having the conversation, right? And he started talking to me about everything he was overwhelmed with, that he had been thinking about for days. The thing is, and I told him after our conversation, I said, dude, you know what's funny? You were listing everything off by importance. So you already know what you have to do, why you have to do it, and how you're going to do it. So I'm like, write the shit down. Whether it's on a list on your phone, on a piece of paper at the house, on a whiteboard, something. Write the shit down. That way you can see it and it's not living in your head, right? It's like when you're going through it and you're having these issues and you keep quiet about it, it's like the pot's going to overflow and you're going to explode with shit. But when you talk about it with people, it doesn't feel as bad because you're starting to lighten the load. It's releasing that energy. And it's the same thing with feeling overwhelmed. It's pent up energy. You're thinking about the 100 things that you have to do. But when you're putting it down on paper, you're like, oh, okay. Or putting it down on your list on your phone, you're like, oh, okay. This makes sense. I got this. Like, I actually got it. I know what to do and how I'm going to do all these things. And now you don't have to carry that list in your head because it's out. You exerted some energy. You let that shit go. It's important. Look into it. If you don't do it, check into it. Try adding it to your routine. Try adding it. See what's up. And, you know, I see it with a lot of homies who do it. And a lot of my friends who have kids, they're constantly doing that. Because they're like, dude, I can't carry all that shit up here. I'll go nuts. I got whiteboards. I got lists. I got things written down. Because it helps me. And for myself, it helps me a ton. It always has. I always keep Post-it notes everywhere. You know, shit, I got one right now. Like, you know, I always keep one by me. Always. If I don't have my notes on my phone and I'm here at my desk, I'm writing it down. So I go through them like mad. So bring that shit into your life. Guarantee it'll help out for sure. And with the grounding and the meditation thing, just again, remember, it's bringing you back to reality. I think that's important to mention. It's always bring yourself to the moment that you're in. Not what could happen, not what's already happened. Because the past is the past. The future's the future. It's not there yet. The past already happened. The present is what matters. Bring yourself back to reality. That's what's going to help you the most. And the last one that I want to talk to you guys about is just mindful living. Right? And I think that as a whole, which I'm sure you can even get from what we were talking about in this last one, right? Like overcoming the overwhelm, it's so important because you got to focus on your mental health, because your wants, your needs during this time, when you feel overwhelmed, they're so fucking important, dude. So important. What is it that you need? Do that, right? If you need a moment to back away, take a moment to back away. If you need to step out and go do some self-care, go do that. Figure out self-care rituals for yourself, those types of things, because why? They're going to help you in moments where you feel overwhelmed and you feel like life is a little too much. We all need that. We all need ways to escape. We all need things that are healthy for us. And for myself, I've been trying to pay attention to that. I've been trying to do those things, right? Like even with self-care, I don't really do that very much. And I realized how it's affected me. I had a period of time where I was doing it a ton. And then I stopped. And I'm like, I don't like that. And now that I'm venturing back into it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to do something nice for yourself. Even if it's something small. It feels so fucking good, right? But when you can focus on your mental health and how to put yourself in a better place, you're just using the tools that you got. And from that point, you can start to live happier. You can live healthier. Can find that balance, right? Because also having a really healthy work-life balance and just living a balanced life in general, that shit changes everything. It changes everything. Your work is your work. You do your shit, you come home. I understand for some people it's really tough to disconnect, but find things to help you disconnect, right? Like, what do you need to do? Do you need to listen to certain music after work? Do that, because that's self-care. That is self-care. Some people would say, oh, no, it's not. It is. It 100% is. Why? It's something that you need. That's how you take care of yourself. Say, you know what? I need to listen to this artist because I feel angry right now. I feel pent up. I need something. I need a release. So I'm gonna listen to XYZ. Cool. That's self-care. Hey, you know what? It's been a long fucking day. I need a milkshake. Go get a milkshake. Because it's not just getting a milkshake. That's self-care. That's telling yourself, like, this is what I need, and I recognize that, and I'm gonna go do that. Because if it was for somebody else, you would do that, right? Maybe not everybody, but it's like, if somebody that you love and care for is having a rough day, let's say your partner's having a rough day, you know they love Reese's peanut butter cups. You say, you know what? I'm gonna go pump gas, and I know that the gas station has Reese's peanut butter cups. Next thing you know, you come home with the king size, even if it's a single king size, right? You got your little 4 Reese's peanut butter cups with your partner. You say, hey, you know what? I know you had a rough day. Love you. The way you would do that for somebody else, you gotta do it for yourself. Remember that. That's self-care. That's good mental health practice. It helps you to come out of these holes. It helps you to come out of this darkness. And also, you're listening to yourself. You're doing yourself a favor. You're honoring yourself. We need that. The same way we honor other people, the same way we take care of other people, we got to take care of ourselves. Because it's like we talk about. At the end of the day, you're the one that you lay with. Even if you lay next to somebody, it's you in your head. And if you're not in a good place, you don't have good things to recollect from your day, you don't have good moments to kind of look back on, no one's going to take you out of that. Nobody. Literally nobody. Nothing. You have to do it. Put in the groundwork. But for myself, again, it's something that I've been trying to get a relationship with again, like reacquaint myself with that self-care. You know, recently I had gone to a little car show. I know I mentioned it to you guys too. I had gone with Celine because her nieces were competing in their first car show. And on the way home, I was close to this one boba spot. And it's one of those things, like, I'm very picky about my boba and like where I get it, why I get it from certain places. And I have certain drinks I only get at certain places. But this place, dude, they have like a milkshake type of thing. And I love Oreos. I'm a massive Oreo fan. And it's one of my all-time favorite drinks. And I was so close to it. I was 8 minutes away from it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just go. There's traffic, you know, no big deal, whatever. I'm just go home. I left the high school where the show was at. And I'm driving down the street. And I was like, something hit me. I said, you know what? Fuck that. Go get this thing that you want. There's nothing wrong with that. Go get this fucking drink that you want. I went, parked up, got my drink. The guy was really cool that I ordered from. It was just all good vibes. Got back in my truck, said, you know, took my little sip. I said, damn, dude. For some reason, it tasted so good. So good. One, just because the drink's fucking bomb. Two, but I think just the situation. The fact that I had such a good time with people that I love and care for so fucking much. And then I gave myself the gift of that. I know it's like, oh, well, dude, you got yourself a milkshake. Not a big deal. To me, it is, though, because I don't do shit like that. I never do things like that. Never. Like, if I'm going to go eat somewhere, like, I don't mind eating by myself, but like, I'd rather get food with somebody. If not, I'll just find something to eat at the house. I'm sure some of you are like that too. So for this type of situation, it's like I was thirsty, but, you know, I could have easily just waited till I got home. Not a big deal. You know, cracked open a water or something. I don't know, anything. But I really wanted that. It was so innocent. It was so simple, so small, but I fucking did it for myself and it felt and tasted so fucking good. And now this is what I'm talking about. You create these memories, you create these moments for yourself that you know exactly what it felt like and you know what it feels like to experience giving yourself something like that. That moment of happiness that you said, I wanted this and I gave it to myself because nobody was going to give it to me. And we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to do that. Self-care, y'all. Self-fucking-care. Whether it's doing your skincare routine at the house, cool. Whether it's chilling, making yourself your favorite dish, going here, going there, go sitting at your favorite park, chilling out. All of those things, if they're things that you want, go do them. Because again, you're going to be able to reflect on that when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel sad, when you're feeling moments of depression, like all of that. You got to have a library that you can go to and pull light from, because all of that shit is going to build to something that's going to help you walk in the dark, right? I feel like it's like that that tool that Ron gets in Harry Potter, for those of you guys who watch Harry Potter, that Dumbledore gives him after he passes. And it's like a little vial. And when you open it, it pulls light. Like any light that's around there, it pulls it and puts it into this vial and creates like a lamp. That's how you have to see this, right? Like you have to be able to pull from things to create a light for yourself. Because if you don't, how are you going to get through it? If there's nobody around you to light your torch, to help you, to give you these moments, what are you going to do? You have to be able to help yourself. Create, build your toolbox, things like that. And another Harry Potter reference, right? It's like Hermione in that same section of the movie. It's the same part. Hermione has this little bag that's just endless. It's filled with all kinds of shit. She has like a library in there. She has all kinds of stuff. It's just this never-ending bag that she can reach into and pull tools out of. That's how I want you to view this. You got to build that bag that Hermione has. And that also just so happens to have that one piece that Ron uses, right? Like, I forgot exactly what it's called, but again, when you open the tab or you flip the tab open, it pulls all the light. That's one of your tools. But build that bag up. That way you can carry it with you and you can rely on it. You can rely on yourself. The best thing in life, you guys, is build and do things to a certain point that you can rely on yourself. It's not just about relying on yourself. Don't mistake that. Keep your people around you. Always keep your circle tight. Keep everything open. Communication. But you also have to be able to help yourself. Because you got to know what you need. If you don't know what you need, how the fuck are you going to explain that to anybody else? Right? The same way with love, right? You tell people, oh, how are you going to love somebody else if you can't love yourself? You know, shouts to RuPaul for that one. But it's the truth. You have to be able to help yourself. So with all of that being said, I was trying to think of like a couple sentences, some words, some sort of advice, right? But I'm like, it's kind of over. That in itself was overwhelming because I was like, ooh, it's a little too big. But this is what I came down to. So the advice for this week: practice mindfulness daily. Set clear boundaries. Seek support when you need it. And remember that resilience and growth often emerge from navigating through overwhelming experiences. I hope you guys enjoyed this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the shares, the comments, the follows, the subscriptions, everything. Dude, you guys are fucking amazing. Like every week, I'm always in awe and I'm always so appreciative, so humbled by you guys. Thank you for everything that you do, the support you continue to give. I love y'all. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. And I will see you guys and talk to y'all on the next one.